Hello, everybody, and welcome. For those of you who haven't been with us before, welcome back. And for those of you that are new, from all of us on the production team, we're really excited to have you here. So here's your Moontower Comedy Festival show and house manager training. So as house and show managers, you're both the face and backbone of the festival. You're our front line for interacting directly with our comics, their management, and our patrons and badge holders. My name is Jason Tremblay, and I'm the festival manager. Here's a picture of me for those of you who don't know what I look like. You're going to see me running around all week. And also, here's my contact information. And I really highly suggest that you jot that down now if you don't already had it. If you don't already have it, this training is for both the house and show managers. So I'm going to start with things that are going to pertain to both of you. And I'll try to keep it moving pretty quickly so I'm not eating up too much of your precious time. So I'm going to start with the venue boxes. These venue boxes are gray plastic boxes that contain all sorts of goodies for you. There will be one for each venue, and they're stored in our offices in the basement of the State Theater. So before each of your first shift, one person from your team, either the house or the show manager, it doesn't matter, can stop by and pick it up, and I'll also give you your t-shirts at that time. You can store it in your venue throughout the festival and return them back to the office on the last night at the end of Saturday night. So what's going to be in these zip boxes? You're going to have a clicker. This is for the house managers to keep up with the head counts. You'll also have a clicker sheet to keep up with your numbers. And you'll want to entrust these with one of your volunteers at the door to keep track of, because you're going to be running around doing a lot of different things, and it'll be easier for them to help keep counts for you. You're also going to have all sorts of fun stuff like pins, Sharpies, index cards. The index cards are for the stage managers to gather information about the introductions for each artist to give to the host. You also have a bunch of different types of tape. You'll have power strips and extension cords, flashlights and batteries, all kinds of stuff. Zip ties, scissors, just a little bit of everything that help make your life a little bit easier. So one of the big things that I want to talk to both groups of people about is our heckler policy. I know a lot of us come from the theater and music world, and this is one area where comedy world is a bit different. So we're going to ask everybody to help with this. If people are talking during the show or making a noise that is disturbing, we have a very strict set of guidelines on how to handle this. I know some of you may be a little hesitant about approaching someone in the audience and asking them to politely keep it down, but I want to remind you that in most cases, almost every case, people who are being a little too loud are just having a good time, and they don't realize that they're even making a disturbance, and very often they kind of appreciate you letting them know. This includes the venue staff as well. I remember last year at the parish, I had to ask the bartenders very specifically to keep it down a couple times. They weren't trying to be a problem. They're just used to working in a loud music venue, and they don't even notice. You'll notice that in some of our clubs. So make sure that not only the patrons but the staff as well is being quiet. And remember that you house and stage managers are working together as a team, and you have to help each other out on this. And you're also going to have a t-shirted security person there at every venue in case you need their help as well. So here's our policy very quickly. First, if a patron is being loud, heckling, or making a disturbance, you should very, very nicely and confidently approach them and ask them to keep it down. In most cases, like I said, this will settle it. Most people are just having a good time and don't even realize they're being loud. Number two, if the patron continues to be loud, you should approach them a second time. This time you'll need to be a little more firm and let them know that if you have to approach them again, you're going to have to ask them to leave. Third, after the second warning, the person's still being a problem, the issue is escalated to this point, this is when you're going to want to find your T-shirted security person, let them know what the problem is, and tell them that you need their assistance in escorting a patron out who is bringing a problem. Again, we don't want you guys to have to kick people out, and this is why we have one of the reasons, several reasons we have security there for you. So I'm there to help you. They're there to work with you. So talk to them if it ever proceeds to this level. And then finally, if at this point you should go to the t-shirt security and let the patron know that they'll have to leave because they're being a disturbance and you've already given them 2 warnings. If a patron is still at that point refuses to leave, please don't touch them or do anything to escalate the confrontation. It's now completely the job of the security officer to escort the patron out. Our security personnel are off-duty police officers, and they're professionals, and they're trained at handling this sort of situation. Like I said, we don't want you to have to jump in there too much like that. So remember, it's not your job to kick someone out. That's why we've hired this professional security team. Your job is to keep an eye out on the crowd and try to very politely put out fires before they escalate to this point. So just quickly to review, if someone is being disruptive, politely ask them to keep it down. If you have to go back a second time, let them know that another infraction and they're going to be asked to leave. If the problem continues, then you're going to find your security officer to have them escorted out. All right, so now I'm going to talk briefly about the paperwork you're going to be receiving, and we'll talk more specifically about these a little later as well. So you're all going to get copies of all this stuff. You're going to have venue sheets. For each of the venues, they contain contact information for you, the venue staff, as well as venue-specific production notes. They also include times for when you need to show up on site, as well as the door times, volunteer arrival times. These venue sheets have kind of everything you need to know about your venues. The show pacing schedule, these are primarily for the stage managers, but I'm going to send them out to everyone. They contain your lineup for each night along with the specific set times for each comic. And we'll talk more specifically about these a bit later. The volunteer sheets, these are for the house managers and to be used to keep track of your volunteers. The clicker counts or clicker sheets. These sheets will be for the house managers to keep up with the number of patrons we have. And like I said, you can entrust a volunteer to that job. And finally, the show sheets. These are for the stage managers. They're basically just the contact information for each of your artists. You'll be contacting them before each of the shows. And also, if you have any specific writer notes or requests, particularly if you have a musician or someone who needs a little more than a microphone and a stool, those will be included in your show sheets. I'm going to talk quickly about volunteers. Robert Vega, here's a picture of him. Fine looking gentleman. He's the Moontower volunteer coordinator. He's going to be stationed at the stateside from 4 o'clock to 10 p.m. each night of the festival. So if you have any questions about volunteers or need more volunteer support, you can relay any information or questions you have directly through your volunteer leaders, or you can contact Robert directly. Here's his number. You're going to want to write it down, 512-775-2764. Before the festival, you can also reach Robert at moontower15@gmail.com. The number of volunteers you have for your venue, as well as their arrival time, which are going to be listed in your venue sheets. And there will also be volunteer leaders to assist the house managers in wrangling and managing the volunteers. The volunteer leaders, one of the great things that we also ask for you is they can really help you check in on the volunteers, make sure they're doing okay, and also make sure that we're rotating them. We don't want someone stuck out by an alley door for an entire night. That's just not any fun for anybody. So try to make sure, especially house managers, you're taking care of your volunteers, and just make sure that they're all having fun, having a good time, doing well, taking care of themselves, and try to keep them rotating as much as possible. That's one of the biggest things we get in feedback when we hear from our volunteers every year is they really like to move around and try to do a bunch of different jobs and hate to get stuck at one spot, especially if they can't see any of the shows, out in front of a club or behind a club. So make sure they're moving around. So volunteer roles. What can a volunteer do? They can do a little bit of everything for you, including, certainly not limited to being a line liaison. They can help you organize your lines, chat with people in the lines, give information about the festival people to people waiting to get in. They can be a badge checker for you. They can help you check credentials at the door. Like I said before, with the clicker sheets, they can serve as a counter, help count the number of guests to manage the capacity limits. Inside the venues, they can help people find seats or alert you of empty seats. And also, this is something kind of unique about our festival. If the house is looking empty, the volunteers can report back to Robert about observer spots. What are observer spots? This is a dedicated group of volunteers that we have that we really use to fill seats. They also report back on the venue and the talents and kind of give us a progress report. So if it looks like your venue's half empty, and we want these comments to be performing in front of people, in front of a live house. You can always text Robert or get in touch with him through your volunteers leaders, and he can send a team of people to come fill some seats for you. Quickly about parking. Most of you guys know we're One American Center Parking Garage. Here it is and the information about it. To get in the garage, you're going to need to be wearing your staff t-shirt. I will give you those staff t-shirts whenever you show up and pick up your venue boxes before your first shift. The garage is available after 6 o'clock, and just keep in mind the following rules. We're going to want to show extreme courtesy to the staff and tenants there. This relationship is the utmost importance to the Paramount Theater. And at the end of the night, you can enter at the front of the building on Congress and take the elevator up to your car. Don't walk up the ramp, please. No overnight parking. Towing will be enforced, and parking is based on availability. So please help us follow those few very simple rules and make everything go great. All right, some things that are more specific to the show managers. As a show manager, your principal, primary, number one responsibility is to make sure that your shows run on time. And you're going to make sure that those shows run on time. You're going to have your pacing sheets and also your venue sheets to help you do that. So some of the information that's going to be useful that you're going to find as a stage manager or show manager in your venue sheets are the call times for each venue. You're going to arrive at the venue about an hour and a half before doors, and your volunteers will arrive about half an hour after you. So please be on time and check in with the house manager when you arrive so that the two of you can connect and coordinate the night's events. You're going to have all the contact info for your venues, furniture delivery and pickup and drop-off times if you have furniture being delivered. This is going to be if you're in the Speakeasy, Google, Parish, or the Vulcan. And you also have venue-specific notes about lines and other things, so you're always going to want to check your venue sheets. All right, so as a stage manager, I'm going to ask that you are contacting your artist just very briefly to check in each day before your shows, just to make sure that they don't have any questions, they know who you are. So for each night, you're going to receive a list of contacts for each comedian on your bill. We ask that you reach out to them and introduce yourself by 3 p.m. Every afternoon. Just remind them of the venue they're in and their time slot, and also give them your phone number and ask them to text you if they're going to run late. This will make your life a lot easier. If you're unfamiliar with any of your artists, please look them up, a picture of them up online so you know what they look like. It can totally be embarrassing if an artist shows up and you don't know who they are. And a couple years ago, I mixed up a couple of comedians myself. I knew who they were. My brain just flipped their names and faces around, and I was totally trying to convince one of the comedians who wasn't even on that show that he was late and needed to get up on stage. And it was just because I just mixed up two comedians, the way they looked in my brain. He thought it was funny, but I felt really stupid. So please don't be like me and make sure that you know your artist and what they look like before you come to the venue. To create consistency when you're contacting them, if you're contacting your artist by email, we ask that you use this following signature: your name, your title as stage or show manager, the Moontower Comedy and Oddities Festival, the name of your venue, your phone number, and email address. It's just for consistency, so when you're contacting your artist, remember you want to contact your artist before 3 p.m. each day. Give them your phone number, tell them to contact you if they think that they're going to be running late. All right, working with your host. So when you arrive, you're going to want to make sure that you introduce to your host or the MC. When they get there, they're going to be listed on your venue sheets or your pacing schedules, and you'll see their name will be the top name, and it'll have a little H for host by it. You're going to use your index cards that are going to be in your venue box to collect the info on each artist and how they want to be introduced. And you're going to collect all these and give them back to the host so they know how each artist would like to be introduced. You're going to want, obviously, one of these for each person on the bill. Colleen has made a very wise point that we don't always trust the handwriting of comics. So if you'll just ask each comic how they would like to be introduced, and very clearly and legibly just write it down on the index cards and hand those index cards over to your host, it will make their job much easier. Artist arrivals. So most artists are going to be arriving on foot since we have a pretty small footprint. Others are going to be dropped off by our drivers. Our drivers are going to have your cell phone numbers, so be on the lookout for a text letting you know that an artist is on their way and about to arrive. There should be a volunteer at the arrival door to greet them when they arrive, and also check with the driver about if they need to be picked up or not after their show. If an artist asks you about a ride after the show, just give transportation a call on your cell phone or shoot them a text. Jason Hubbard, he's our transportation coordinator. Here's his phone number right here, 512-924-4389. If he doesn't answer, send him a text. If he doesn't answer or respond, just keep trying. They may be talking on another line, but Be sure not to leave them a voicemail because they're not going to answer. Jason will get back to you. You might have to try him a couple times. And it's not because he's ignoring you, he's just busy. All right, so just a quick little showing you what the pacing sheet will look like for you. Your primary responsibility, like I said, is to make sure that the shows run on time, and you're going to coordinate with the host and all the artists to make sure everyone knows exactly what the schedule looks like. The pacing sheets, so these will have a full lineup for each night on your stage with specific run times for each comedian on your bill. So here's an example of a 7:15 show on a Thursday. This particular show was called Switch. You see that Ralph Hardesty was the host, first name on there. He had 10 minutes. Then Cameron had 15 minutes, Daniel 10, Aaron 15, James 15, and Jen 15. Very simple. Host is at the top. They've got an H, and you've got the number of minutes each person performs next to that. For each of your shows, you're going to want to print out a copy of this pacing sheet and post it up in the green room. You should also make sure that your host or MC has a copy. And please only put up the pacing sheet for the show that's about to go on. Don't post the pacing sheet for any other shows, or don't put a pacing sheet for. Don't be over eager and put the sheet up for the next day, because often people will get confused. Giving the light, I want to talk about that really quickly. So there's going to be a flashlight and extra batteries located in your venue box. For each artist, when you collect their bio, ask them if they want a light. For those of you who haven't worked a comedy show before, this is pretty much the industry standard, and it's how comedians are used to working and staying on time. If a comedian tells you that they want a 5-minute light, all this means is you're going to stand at the front of the house, probably by the soundboard, and when there are 5 minutes left in the comedian's set, you're just going to flick the flashlight at them a couple times, and once they see it, they'll give you a quick nod of recognition, and this is how they know how much time they have left in their set. If you don't see them give the nod, wait 15 or 20 seconds and give them a quick couple flashes again. The comedian's timing on the light will depend on the length of their set. For longer sets, they may ask you to give them a couple lights, perhaps one halfway through, and maybe another one with 5 minutes to go. For the shorter, 10-minute sets, they're probably going to want a light maybe with 2 minutes left to go. So just talk to your comedians and ask them what they would like. MP3 players. So for some shows, specifically some podcasts that we're going to have intros, if this is the case in your venue, there's going to be an MP3 player in your event box with all the audio files on it. You'll just give it to your venue audio person and let them know when and where it needs to be played, and make sure to test it on the sound system before the show. It's just a good reminder, always make sure to go up and introduce yourself to the house audio engineer whenever you get on site. The following venues are going to have Chaotic Moon sizzle reels prior to each show, and these will have already been advanced with the venues: Paramount State, Parish, Speakeasy, and Vulcan. So if you're managing one of these venues, make sure that the venue is aware and prepared to go with their projectors and screens for these short little reels that are going to play before each show. Quickly, I'll talk about the green room. So each venue is going to have a green room. Its location is going to be listed and indicated in your venue sheet. It's your responsibility to keep it stocked and tidy. Drivers will deliver cases of water and snacks to your venue. Please put excess stuff that you have away for later. Don't leave it out all in the green room after your shows, or it'll vanish. Venues, we're going to provide ice and ice chest. If you don't see them when you arrive, just please ask them. And also just make sure that you have water to be placed on the stage for the performances. Generally, comedians prefer their water to be room temperature, not cold. Just depends. They're all different. But just make sure you have some water and ready to go and put on the stage for those guys. Drink tickets. So drink tickets are be redeemed for your performing artist. It says performing artist. We'll also have drink tickets for VIPs as well. Each artist is giving 2 drink tickets for beer, well drinks, and they have a $7 value. If they want a beverage that's over $7, they can just use 2 tickets. There are no open tabs or credits at any venue for any artist for any reason. We only use drink tickets. After each show, the bar should count the drink tickets they have taken and create an invoice. And these should be returned with your venue boxes to the stateside. It's important that they keep and return the physical tickets for us to count. You can keep these and return these with your venue boxes on the final night if you'd like, or the bar managers can deliver them to us if they prefer. So now I'm going to move on to some more information, more specific just to the house managers. But since you're working together, I really recommend that if you're a stage manager, you keep watching just so you have a good idea of what the house manager's role is. And remember, you guys are going to be working as a team. Few quick things. Clickers. Of course, we want to know how many people have been to each of your shows. So a clicker sheet's going to be in each box, so you can keep track of your total clicks per show, as well as an average number of VIP badges. Don't forget to clear the clicker between shows. You'll have a clicker to a sheet, like I've said a few times, to record the clicker counts. Our photography policy, the festival photo policy for approved credential festival photographers and media is for the first 5 minutes of a set, no flash. This has been advanced with all artists, so that's what they're expecting. Guest lists and badges. Here's a short recap of what you need to know regarding guest lists and badges. Guest badges. All national talent was offered a badge for one guest. This was advanced with Laura. Guest badges were only provided upon request. So if an artist has any questions about receiving a guest badge, just please refer them to Laura Vilches, who is our artist relations manager, and she'll take care of them. Comp show and guest list request. Artists were also asked to email their guest list to Laura, but most likely they'll just show up with names to give to the show manager. The house manager will need to keep these names on a list at the door. Guests up to their approved allotment will be allowed to enter in the regular badge line. Media. We'll have media covering some shows. If media is going to be in your venue, you're going to be notified beforehand and given a list. All you need to do is use a piece of paper to reserve a seat for them. They will probably be bouncing around between shows, so don't be surprised if they show up after the show has already started. Lines and line signs. So line signs are going to be delivered to each of your venues, and it's up to the house manager to get them positioned in advance of the lines starting. Very great way to use your volunteers is to help them get these line signs up when they first arrive and help get the lines situated. You want to do this probably at least 30 or 45 minutes before the doors are going to open. That's about when people start lining up. Each venue is going to have two lines. You can see the two different types of line signs that you're going to have. So the policy will be in the first line, you'll have the VIP sponsors and artist badges. They go in first, and then after that, the ACE badges, fan badges, and wristbands and press. These guys all stand in the same line, right? If you can see by the sign, it's just exactly what it says. The VIPs get in first, then the sponsors, then the artist. Then after that, all the badges just in the order that they are in line get in. After all your badges get in, you have the single ticket and wristband line, and those guys all come in at the same time. One thing you want to make sure is that your lines contain breaks at the front of neighboring bars. We don't want to be blocking anybody's space. If you do have media that show up to your venue that was on the list that I was telling you about, you're probably going to want to, or we would ask that you just take a card and put in a chair and reserve a seat for them. These specific individuals should be given minutes prior to badge holders, or as soon as they arrive, the media can come in. They're going to be dashing about, so they might not get there right on time. Communicating capacity. So in the past we used walkie-talkies, but we discovered last year that just using our cell phones and text messaging was way easier in communicating amongst the festival staff. So at the start of each night, what I'll do is Jason will create a text message thread with all the house managers. You'll all be on there. This thread is so you can communicate your current capacities to me. So about every half hour to every hour, I will send out a text to this group and ask me to send you your current capacities, or you're going to just look at your clicker sheet and send me that number. So that way we can help guide audiences to venues that away from venues maybe that they're not going to be getting in because there's not enough room, to venues that still have open space. So if you have a lot of room in your venue and needs to be filled, send me a note, and I will let all the other house managers know that they can let their volunteers and front of house people tell people that aren't perhaps getting into one venue that there's plenty of space available at another venue. This year we have single day tickets. And because the way we've organized the line, there is a possibility, though it's very small, and we tried to make sure it wouldn't happen by counting the number of tickets that we sold. There's a very small possibility that you'll have to turn away someone who has a single ticket because the venue's already at capacity and you haven't perhaps gotten through all the badges or haven't gotten to them in line. So this is the policy um, for what we're going to do in that rare instance that happens. So first we'll offer them a daily wristband. I'm going to provide those to you, so you'll have those on the spot. We can offer them in exchange to an alternate club show, a ticket for another show, and they'll just go to the Paramount box office to switch it out for another ticket. They could also go to the Paramount box office and get a refund. We can also offer them a summer film series pass, and I'll have those for you as well. For both the wristbands and the film passes, I'll be giving those to you guys. And finally, we're not going to be selling tickets at club venues each night. So our policy for our single day ticket sales will be shows will remain online on sale until 5 p.m. each day. So after 5 p.m. they go offline, but the Paramount box office will stay open. So you will continue to sell tickets there at that box office manually throughout the night. So this way the line managers can let people know if they really want to get a single day ticket to a show, there's room, they can run over to the Paramount and buy a ticket and come back. And each day at 5 p.m. the box office is going to print out a will call report, and I'll use a runner to distribute that list to you guys. So when we have that single ticket line, a lot of those you'll just have a list, but that list will be given to you before your show by a runner. All right, guys, that was a lot of information. Tried to keep it under 25 minutes. I kept it under half an hour. I think that's pretty good. So that's it for me. Remember that I'm here for you. I know that was just a ton of info I dropped on you. Feel free to give me a call. Feel free to give me an email if you guys have any questions about anything at all. Really appreciate you guys helping us out, and have a wonderful time at Moontower. And I'll see you all soon.